Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I may actually have to break this recording up into two different segments. I have to go teach a group fitness class soon. I have some thoughts in my head about the United Airlines Half Marathon and I really wanted to get them out. The New York City United Airlines New York City Half is coming up next weekend, and while I'm not running it this year because New York Roadrunners never picks me for their lotteries, I did run it last year. Don't be fooled, they did not pick me for the lottery. I got rejected from the lottery and then ran for a charity last year. Anyway, I did run it last year and I never actually made a video for it. Now that it's kind of relevant and coming up again, I just figured I'd give you tips from my experience, a little recap, and why if you've never run it before, you should run it next year because it's a really great race. Not that I really want to lower my odds for the lottery by encouraging more people to run it, but it is an experience everyone should have. It's a really cool half marathon and probably my, I don't want to say my favorite because I've ran a lot of really good half marathons lately. I'll refrain from saying my favorite, but it's a really good one. Definitely one of my favorites. With that being said, let's just get right into it. This race usually takes place the weekend of St. Patrick's Day, which I was a little sad about last year while I was actually running it. I was like, oh, I wish I could be like hanging out with all these people on the street having a good time on St. Patrick's Day. I'm in a much different place this year and I actually would prefer to be running it this year and not having anything to do with those crowds. I digress. Usually happens around March and the weather I feel like can really vary in March. Like you never know what you're gonna get in the Northeast, and so that is a coin toss when it comes to this race. With that, we can kind of get into some pre-race logistics and my experience with them last year, how it may be a little bit different this year, probably different again next year. Pre-race logistics. Cold last year. Oh, it was horrible. Oh my gosh, my battery is dying now. You guys, this video today giving me difficulty. Okay, I'm back. I changed my battery. It was freezing. I do remember knowing that it was gonna be pretty cold. I had just moved to Miami at this point. I thought that I was still pretty adapted to the cold. As the race got closer, it was actually forecasted to be in the teens. It doesn't seem to be as bad this year in general. New York has mostly had a pretty mild winter. I haven't actually looked at the forecast for the upcoming race, but to my knowledge, it's probably a lot more reasonable and it's not going to be in the teens. I do recommend bringing some sort of layers anyway because it's still gonna be, it's New York in March. It's still gonna be a little bit cold. If you're running this in the future, watching this come next year when maybe it's cold again, bring layers. I didn't know about the whole donation process ahead of time and I didn't have any old clothes to bring, so I didn't bring them on my trip at all. There are donation bins at the start, so if you just bring an old sweatshirt, like an ex-boyfriend sweatshirt or sweatpants that you've had for years that you know you're never gonna wear, you think you're gonna wear them, but you're not actually gonna wear them, bring it. You can layer up for your commute from wherever it is, wherever you're coming from. You can be comfortable and there is a security process, so you have to get there a bit early. Because of that, there's gonna be a lot of waiting around and you should be somewhat warm while you're waiting. Another layer to this, another layer to wearing layers, it starts to get warm. Like even if it's cold, keep in mind, it was in the teens when I ran this. It still started to get really warm by the time I was on miles like 7 through 9 on FDR. Like it's just a long stretch under the sun. You don't want to be running in like really heavy, really warm materials no matter the weather. I mean, maybe if it was 0 degrees, but like I really hope this race doesn't ever take place in 0 degrees. You definitely want to keep light layers on for your run, and anything more than that, stack it on to take off and throw in the donation bin. You don't want to be wearing anything nice that you have to take off. I used to have a strategy where there was a certain sweatshirt that I had on that I could just take it off and fold it around my waist, and I ran pretty comfortably like that. But it's been years since I did that because I got nicer running materials, so I became more efficient with usage of that, and I haven't had to do that, and I don't know if I would still be comfortable if I had to run with a sweatshirt tied around my waist. I could probably do it if I had to, but it wouldn't be my choice for a race, especially if I wanted to do really well. In terms of what you should wear, coming from Miami, so again, not as adapted to the cold, I wore a long sleeve, like a thin, smart, dry fit shirt underneath the short sleeve for the charity that I was running, and that was it. One pair of leggings, just one pair of leggings. In typical teen degree weather, I would definitely double up on my leggings, but I knew that it was gonna get pretty warm, so I kept it light with this attire. One pair of leggings, one long sleeve, and then the short sleeve on top of it. My friend who ran it, however, who I was staying with, she actually wore a tank top and shorts. Now, she was one of the few, that's for sure, but it's what she's most comfortable running in and knew that it was gonna get a little bit hot, and it worked for her. It worked really well. I think she might have PR'd. Do with that information know what you will. One thing that you can bring is like an old foil wrap from a race. I hadn't actually kept any that I've ever gotten from a race before, but let me tell you, feeling how cold I was for that race and not having had any donation things, anything to throw away while waiting after the security and in the corrals to start, motivated me to hold on to that foil wrap after this race. I still have it. I'm going to keep that until I need to use it and donate it for a race in the future. So if you have an old one of those, great. If not, definitely hold on to the one you get from this race for a future race. I'm gonna have like a whole packing list at the end of this video, so I'll repeat a few of these things and kind of compile them all together in a list at the end. You're also gonna wanna bring some fuel, any like pre-race snacks. You definitely wanna take it with you and not have it in advance because you have to get there pretty early. Like I said, there is security. Going through any security process in a race is definitely gonna add a bit of time just because they want you there 30 minutes early to ensure everyone makes it through, and so everyone's getting there earlier and the lines get backed up. You have to go through the line, so definitely get there early enough. Make sure you're getting there whatever they recommend. Do that. There's definitely like in the email somewhere, I think it's like an hour early, something like that. An hour to an hour and a half early. Definitely get there. My friend that I went with is very punctual about this stuff and takes these races very seriously, so we got there. It might have even been, okay, it was probably an hour and a half early, but I was waiting an hour and a half in the teen with no layers on. Everyone that got there as early as us was just like all huddled around together. We were all suffering together, so it was okay, but they had layers, so bring your layers. Again, you're gonna be there pretty early. You don't wanna take your fuel too early, whatever it may be, so you wanna bring it with you. I made a fueling mistake, which we'll talk about a little bit later. I was less wise then as I am now, and now I'm actually a certified run coach, so I know a little bit more, and I just learned from trial and error. This was the trial and the error. I only brought a banana. I thought this banana is gonna get me through a half marathon. Maybe it could under the right circumstances, but I did start fueling a little bit more before my half marathons. Just the waiting until you take off and getting there so early. A banana is probably not going to be enough for most people. This is all taking place at Prospect Park. I think the security gates are a little bit outside the park. You start outside and then run into and loop around a few times. But once you make it through security, head straight to the bathrooms. I don't care if you don't have to go. Bathroom lines get backed up for races. I didn't go immediately, but we were there early enough that it wasn't a huge issue. We waited around with people, said hi to a few different people. Once you run with New York Road Runners, you kind of get to know a few different faces in the community. So we were talking to some people. When it was a little bit closer to the race, we made our way past the security. There's a separate bathroom section. There's like a little bathroom area off to the side. We were waiting by that, and then we made our way over to the corrals, and there's a row of bathrooms that are a little bit closer to the corral to warm up and to literally warm up. We did some jogging around, and then I got in the bathroom line about 30 minutes out from the race, made it through. It almost did get a little sketchy, so that's why I do recommend you go to the bathroom the earlier the better if you can just get it out of the way. Made it out of the bathroom, got in the corral, and the last thing I have for like a pre-race tip is to really just take it in. Like take a moment to take it in. Standing there in the corral, you get to look around and realize this is a huge race like in New York City. It's not the New York City Marathon, but it's pretty freaking close. It's a really cool race. It takes you through multiple boroughs and it's just a really cool course, so soak it in. Soak in the fact that you made it here, because like some of us who get rejected from the lottery, it's actually not just something anyone can do, whether you worked hard and qualified through their 4 out of 6 program or you were one of the lucky ones that made it through the lottery. Like you made it in this race. It's such a cool race that you're running. Take a minute, be proud of however you got there, even if it's the lottery. Be proud of your lottery entrance and the fact that you are lucky, and just embrace it. The energy is so great for these races. The community around you, the running community in New York is so amazing. Living in Miami, I have to say I miss that so much. They really get you pumped up before the race. Just take it in, embrace it, and give yourself that moment before you actually take off. Some general half marathon advice. You did your training up to this point. You can't stress anything. You can't imagine the worst thing that's gonna go wrong. Imagine that everything just goes right. You did the work to get here and you're here, so celebrate. I'm actually going to take a pause. I'm not gonna be able to squeeze this out before I have to go. I'll be right back. You guys won't even notice I'm gone. Okay guys, let's talk about the rest of this half marathon. So race recap. It starts in Prospect Park, as I think I mentioned earlier. The start line is like right outside the park, then it takes you into the park. You loop around a few turns and curves of the park for the first 2 miles of it before it spits you out into Brooklyn. For these first 2 miles, I was just so cold. That's the theme of this video, is I was just cold. I was trying to to adapt to running in the teens when I've been running in like 80 degrees before that. I felt like I couldn't breathe. It wasn't like, I'm out of breath, like I can't run. It was like, it felt like no air was entering my lungs, and I kind of panicked. And I think it's because I had gotten used to not just the warmer weather, but also humidity. Luckily had gloves on that I was running with, and I had to take them. I actually didn't bring gloves initially. I think it was my friend that let me borrow her gloves, which I'm so grateful because I wouldn't have been able to do this. I basically took the glove and covered my mouth, and I just had to breathe with my mouth covered in this glove. It created like a little condensation and humidity, and it was also keeping me warm. So I was able to breathe through my hand for the first couple of miles while I adapted to the cooler weather outside. That's really all I remember from Prospect Park, other than the fact that I felt good starting out. Obviously, don't we all feel good starting out until we don't. I exited Prospect Park, started running through Brooklyn. This is the point where I started seeing crowds actually for the first time. That was pretty exciting, and it just got you like, oh wow, this is a big race. Like, people are actually here to support. I feel like, yes, most races there's people that support, but New York Roadrunners just has so many races throughout the year that a lot of the ones that aren't that big, you forget how big the crowds can get. It was really exciting to like see everyone come out in Brooklyn. You're running through all the really cool spots. I think, unless I'm mixing it up with the marathon, which I don't think I am, we ran by Barclays Center, which is always really cool. I love that strip. If there's one area I did not explore enough when I lived around New York City, it was definitely Brooklyn. I needed to go there significantly more. From Jersey City, it was kind of a trek. Anytime I wanted to spend time in the city, generally I was going into Manhattan, but I do regret not exploring Brooklyn more. It's been great to run through Brooklyn on the half and the marathon. Past Brooklyn, you get onto the Manhattan Bridge. On this bridge, I think was the first time that I was kind of like, oh, I could see how this could get a little hard, because it felt mostly easy before that. And I was just like, okay, it's fine. We'll just keep pushing. It's fine. And I made it over the bridge into miles 6 and 7, which is just the downtown area, making your way around the bridge's exit and looping through town a little bit to get to FDR on the east side. This is where I started to realize that I underfueled. Got a little hungry. I felt a little weak. I think the hills also were taking a little bit of a toll because I hadn't been adapted to the hills after running in Florida again. At this point, I wasn't in my current tip-top shape that I'm in right now. Like right now, I am trained, I am honed in. I had a few obstacles last year during that training cycle. It was part of the larger Jersey City Marathon training cycle. That whole period of time I was adjusting to the heat in Miami. I couldn't get my longer runs in because I was trying to adapt to the heat. I had a lot of craziness going on with work, and then there was just the fact of the general move. So I was not in as good of shape as I am now, and I also, from that experience and getting my run coach certification and a few other things, I know significantly more about running now. So mile 6 to 7, I started to realize I still got the rest of the half to go. Now, I had completed 3 other half marathons before this point. They went relatively smoothly. I did Disney in 2020, and I actually did that one with bronchitis and a shin splint, but it's still went more smooth than this one. I got a better time for this one, which we'll talk about in a bit. I got my second, at the time, it was my second best half marathon time. So I didn't do bad, but at the fitness level that I was at, I did expect to do a bit better. Overall, it wasn't like a bad performance, but I realized that I was going to struggle and fight for that time around mile 6 to 7. Then mile 7, you get on FDR Drive, kind of give yourself like a little motivation. Okay, it's flat for a little bit. It's not too bad. I got a renewed sense of I can do this. And then a little bit later down FDR, it was just hot. This is one part of the race where you really don't have any crowds because it's literally a highway and no one's really lining up on the highway. So it's just you and you for these 2.5 miles. It's just a little bit more quiet than the rest of the race. The sun is just beating down on you. So it's just like a long stretch. I might actually enjoy that part if I were to do this race again, but just wasn't adding any positive things mentally at that time. It was just really starting to warm up. I even regretted wearing the long sleeve t-shirt that I was wearing underneath. I think I started to slow down towards the end of FDR. I do remember there was also a slight elevation toward the end of FDR, and I was like, no, I cannot do this right now. I just can't do it. I was losing momentum, but I knew that my fiance's family was going to be waiting for me somewhere around mile 10, mile 11. So I kept myself pushing. I kept fighting, stayed in it. I didn't fully drop off. Because I was also like, I've run a marathon at this point, what's a half? Which is kind of my mentality all the time when I run halves now. Okay, I've run a marathon, I can literally do anything. But then you kind of discredit the fact that it actually is a little bit hard still while you're doing it. You're like, oh yeah, this is still kind of hard, especially if you're like not marathon trained. I saw my fiance's family just before I was about to enter past mile 11 into Times Square toward the latter half of mile 10. Seeing them, hearing them cheer, put like that extra pep in my step, and then was able to give me that last push I needed through the last few miles. I made it into Times Square. Of course, tons and tons of crowds in Times Square, but for a different reason than there's usually crowds in Times Square. That's really nice. Everyone's there celebrating the run. It's really cool to just have the streets shut down and be running through those streets. That's probably what, like, the coolest part of this race, honestly. Pushed a little harder. I knew mile 12 was finally coming. I could see Central Park in sight, so I was like, all right, this is it. We're getting so close. I saw the edge of Central Park, and I ran down along the bottom of it, going east into that bottom entrance, and went in. And once I was in Central Park, I was like, yes, the finish line is here. It's here. I can sense it. And I pushed through to the end. I made it. I crossed the finish line. Central Park, I was able to push because I knew it was there, but I remember it being so hard. The first thing I remember after crossing the finish line was thinking, I don't want to do another whole marathon. United was March 17th, something like that, and my Jersey City Marathon was April 26th, something like that. So it was a month and a half later, and I was like, I do not want to do that twice. Like, I do not want to do that twice. Of course, I mustered it up and I did it, but that's a topic for another video. I met up with my friend Grace, who I was with for this race. She'd crossed the finish line a little bit before me. We took some pictures, some videos with our medals, really celebrated that, and then it was time to meet up with my fiance's family. They came up to the end to find me. If you have ran the New York Marathon or the United Half before, you know what I'm talking about, but it is nuts getting out of Central Park when there's crowds of people there to meet up with the runners. They don't let the families into the park, so everyone's just kind of surrounding the southwest exit of Central Park. They make the runners walk. It was worse for the marathon, but for the half, they make the runners walk like not quite a mile. Marathon, they make you walk full mile, which is not fun. And then you just have to find your family. Looked for my fiance's family. It was so chaotic meeting up with them, but I met up with them, took some pictures with them as well. It was really great. It was a really nice celebration. Then I went to go get brunch with my friend Grace, and that's that. But it was a really nice day overall, and it was such a fun race. It was very challenging for me because of obstacles I was facing at that time, the underfueling issue, but I crossed in, let me actually look really quick because I don't want to discredit myself. I guess I gotta scroll back a year on Instagram, not think that through. I've been posting a lot lately. United Half, here it is. I didn't even put my time for this. Okay, all I put was that I didn't PR, but I wasn't that far from a PR, so like, why didn't I don't understand why I didn't tell people my time. I guess I'm going to New York Roadrunners. I realize I could edit this out, but I want you guys to sit through the process with me. We're gonna figure this out together. Are you serious? It's not like right there? What? Like the time and the place is literally blank. Okay, 1:45:42. Now my PR before that was 1:45:11. When I got the 1:45:11 was just at the start of my journey of starting to take running more seriously. I'd gotten a couple 1:57 and 1:59 half marathon times before that, but when I made that 1:45 mark is when I started taking running more seriously. It had been a year since I did that, so I did expect to do a little bit better than the 1:45, but I had all those adjustments, everything that I already mentioned earlier. I have since PR'd from that, which I guess I have to make another video for. I don't know how I got so behind in all my race videos. So to prep you to run this, whether you're going to run it this year, 2024, or you're going to run it in 2025, 2026, 2027, or you're finding this video all the way in 2028, let's talk about the backing list. I actually had an idea while I was thinking this through. Maybe I will make like a PDF of my professional opinion and experience, traveling needs, and like day of race needs, like a list of things to bring and be prepared with. Sure, there's a million out there, but I might be able to add my own little thing to it. Maybe I'll make that in the future and put that on another half marathon video, because I'm just gonna keep running these half marathons and marathons. Specifically for United, my packing list recommendations for you. Number one, pre-race fuel. That is number one specifically because that is what I was lacking. Have more than a banana. Whatever you've tested out to lead up to this training. I mean, if you're more of a marathon runner and halves are kind of nothing for you, then you know what works for you. But if you were training up for this half and this is like your big half, don't try anything new on race day. Use whatever you were fueling with before and bring it with you. Do not eat it before you go on your little journey. You take it through security and you eat it on the inside, okay? Number 2, gels, if you need them. I personally don't use gels for half marathons. Sometimes I'll hit the Gatorade stations for some quick carbs and a power up, but I don't take gels for half marathons. They say it's typically for runs over 90 minutes. My half marathons are just over, a little more than just over, but they're just over 90 minutes. If you've been practicing with gels, if you know you need gels at that distance, get your gels. Donation layers, just layers in general. Layer. I cannot emphasize this more. We talked about it a little bit earlier. You want to run, especially like once you're on FDR and it's the sun's beating down on you, you're in that open air, it's a little bit later in the morning, so it's warmer. Even if it's freezing, even if it's 19 degrees on race day, you should plan to run in wear that is a little bit lighter than you maybe think you need to. You'll probably be cursing me out for the first 7 miles, but once you're on FDR Drive, you're gonna thank me for that. You're going to really appreciate dressing light for this. Again, in order to dress, there's like something on this painting beside me. It's bothering me, but I don't want to touch it with my hands because it kind of looks like a bug, so. Running in those light layers, it's even more important that you bring donation layers and like things that you can just take off right before you're about to start running. Old sweatshirt, old sweatpants, even an old jacket if you like have an old jacket. Just find something that you're willing to part with. I'm sure there's tons of things that you're willing to part with, so like multitask. Make it a Marie Kondo event. Like Marie Kondo your closet, find what you're not gonna use, throw it on, and throw it out when you get there. Number 4, chafing stuff. That is not particular for this race at all. That's just my little reminder to you, my gift to you, to remember your chafe stuff. I didn't have an issue with this, but I find this very, very important because I chafe very, very badly, mostly on the underboob area. I'll get in the shower after a long run and scream if I chafed. So don't forget your chafe gel. I don't even know if it's gel. Is it like a powder? It's like a deodorant, but like, what do you call it? Whatever you use, whatever you practice with, bring it. But I will also add below my favorite basic anti-chafe brand. Number 5, sunglasses. I did not have these. I do not think I have ever run in sunglasses. That is me telling you, do as I say, not as I do. I think I've actually realized like I'm tired of squinting on runs. I need to start running in sunglasses, but I probably wouldn't have tried them out brand new first thing that day, even if I knew to bring them. Again, so that's the thing, like make sure that you're not trying anything new on race day and you've practiced it all out beforehand. But I don't know, I just have like a fear that it's gonna be uncomfortable or like chafe my nose. I have no idea. I like have a weird thing against wearing sunglasses, but I know I really need to, and I wish that I was a sunglasses running person for this race because again, FDR Drive, sun is beating down on you. I'm pretty sure it's like in your face too that entire time. I guess sunglasses are something maybe you don't need to practice in, but again, I'm weird about them. I want to stop being weird about them. Use your own judgment there. Those are your 5 most important things to bring and pack for the United Half. And bonus tip, if you're traveling from out of town, do not forget to bring an extra set of running clothes for a shakeout run. I actually did that recently for the Key West half that I ran, and I had to do my shakeout run in the running clothes that I brought for the half. Do not make that mistake if you're traveling from out of town. Now let's go over race strategy a little bit. I talked about the course and how the race went in relation to me. General overview, I want to give you like race strategy, how I would race this if I was doing it again, especially now that I'm a little bit more knowledgeable and have had the experience of the race, and especially coming in as someone who lives in Florida and does not train on hills regularly. I would go about this race a certain way, mostly with the general theme of hold back because there's more hills that are coming, but we can get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of the elevation now. Race strategy for the United Airlines Half Marathon. The elevation is the highest at miles 1 and 2 in Prospect Park, so keep that in mind. So you want to make sure that you're starting off easy enough, keeping it at a pace that you feel very prepared to run and sustain long term. I would even argue and say whatever you plan on your half marathon average pace being, to take it a little bit slower than that, and then you can kick it up in the end if you're feeling good. That's general for all half marathons. That's the good strategy to have, but for this one in particular, you're taking off on hills, so be extra cautious of that. Miles 3 to 4, a little bit of downhill, a little bit of flat going out of Prospect Park and into Brooklyn. Keep it easy here. It's easy to get carried away and be like, oh, this is great, I'm flying, it's downhill, it's flat, but it gets hard again. There's more elevation coming your way, so keep it easy. I did not do that. I burnt out around mile 8, 9. I was able to dig really deep, and somehow I managed to push past that burnout. I think that I would have gotten closer to like a 141 or a 142 if I hadn't made the fueling mistakes and the strategy mistakes of going out too fast, but you win some, you lose some, or I would keep it easy, miles 3 to 4. Before you hit mile 5, which again is an incline because you're going up the Manhattan Bridge, so slow and steady, little steps. Focus on going up that hill. Just tell yourself little steps till you're at the top. Eventually you're gonna be at the top, and then you get to come down the other side of the bridge. What goes up always comes back down, at least in terms of a race and most things. You come back down the bridge, going through downtown, pretty flat, pretty easy. Miles 6 through 9, downtown into FDR is still pretty flat. Assess where you're at this point. I'd probably wait till closer to mile 7 or 8 to really give myself a fair assessment, but depending on your experience, assess yourself at mile 6. Somewhere along that 6 to 8 range, figure out how you're feeling. If you're feeling good, if you can step it up, go ahead and you can step it up at this point and push it a little bit faster. Hit that race pace. Or if you're feeling really, really good, and you know you're feeling good, not just hoping you're feeling good, like you know in your heart that you are feeling really good, you can maybe even push a little bit harder than race pace to make up that difference earlier. Again, if you can, don't push it, but if you really feel like you can step it up here, feel free to step it up here. Once you come off FDR and you're starting to get into mile 10, starting to get into that Times Square and Central Park, it's hills till the end at this point. 10 through 12 are not that bad in terms of hills, but there is a little bit of rolling elevation, and you just need to mentally be prepared for that. It's going to be a little bit hard, but this is the part of the half that you're supposed to sprint, so you don't feel pain past mile 10. You just let them have it, rip it all out. I hold back on mile 10 still. I don't like to sprint until the last 2 miles just because I want to be extra cautious. Just be wary of those rolling hills. Pick it up more if you can at this point, like really try to start picking it up. 11 through 13, give it everything you have left. This is where you really like create a box around the pain, put your pain in that box, toss it to the side. Unless you're like actually severely in pain or injured, like maybe address that at that point, like don't keep running the race. But in terms of just discomfort and that kind of pain that comes with running, we all know it, shove it to the side. You don't feel it. Lean into the burn, let it feel good. You're pushing here. You're giving it everything you got. Run through Central Park. Central Park is where it gets like really, really hilly. Just push through those last hills. Do it. I know it sucks in the moment, but make it through. And once you cross that finish line, you can stop. You're done. That's it. You did it. Congratulations. We just ran the United Airlines Half Marathon. No, but really that's the strategy that I would take to approach it. Just lots of holding back until you really like, you see the end, you know where the end is, and you know that you can do it. Coming off right at the bat, immediate hills, flattens out, mile 5, bridge, elevation again. Coming down, flat for a while, 10 through 13, hills. Don't be caught off guard, don't be surprised, and just have a good time. Kind of leaning into my final thoughts here. This is such a cool race to be a part of. It's such a cool race to do. It's one of my favorites. I mean, like, I don't really have a race that I ran that I didn't enjoy. Well, to a degree, but I particularly enjoyed this one. And so really take it in. Like, there's so many crowds of people. People are out in freezing cold weather to cheer you on. Like when I was running it, it was in the teens and people were out on the streets like they wanted to be there. They wanted to be cheering you on. So I can only imagine if the weather's a little bit warmer this year, it's going to be even that much more amazing. But people want to be there. They want to be cheering for you. Everyone loves to see the running community gather for this. Like it is a big special race. It's put on by United Airlines. They're not the particular airline I fly with, but they do such a good job with the race. They put on such a great expo. We'll dip into the expo for a second. I was actually going to get my medal and show it to you guys and like hold it here, but it's like put away on a shelf high up. I'm going to show you the clip of the medal here, but they put on such a good expo. I'll scoot over so I can put some clips to the expo here while I'm talking. There's so much cool gear from it. They have the wall of names, which only kind of bigger races tend to have that, and it's really cool to find your name. It's massive. Like this is a big race, so they have to guide people strategically through the shop and you have to follow the right ways to go. There's so much cool merch. They have a lot of cool vendors there to give you free samples of stuff, show you stuff. At least last year they had raffles for flights for United. They definitely bring a lot to the table there. The expo's a really fun experience. They usually have, again, this was last year, they have a big map that takes you through the course. So you can get pumped about it. You can get really excited. You get to see what you're going to be running through. You see New York there, and like the fact that you're running this crazy race through New York City, the second biggest race through the New York City, like one of the biggest cities in the world. You are running that race through it. So soak it all in. Soak in the expo. Soak in everything from the moment the weekend starts. Again, the actual race is such a fun environment as well. The running community in New York, amazing. Everyone is so friendly. Everyone's there to boost you up. Everyone wants to support each other. The crowd wants to support you. There are so few places in this world where you can experience the level of support and human compassion other than these major races. And this is definitely one of the better ones in terms of offering that and the camaraderie. So really just feel that energy. Look up at Times Square, look up at the Empire State Building. If you live there, I don't care. Admire it. Have your little New York City moment. I know that I was there for 2 years and I still had like pinch me moments like, wow, I'm here, I'm doing the thing, I'm living in New York. So have that moment for yourself and enjoy it. I guess I'll kind of shift this into why you should run it if you haven't ran it before and aren't running it this year. So you can have those moments. That's the reason. So you can experience those things. You should run this race. Briefly touched on it a few times, but it is the second biggest New York City race of the year. Don't actually have that anywhere stated for a fact. I'm so confident in that if I researched it, that would be the case. But you have the New York Marathon and then the New York City Half. It's a big race with a lot of people, put on by the biggest organization for running in New York. I know there's a few other race organizations that I never did any races with. I only did races with New York Roadrunners. I'm sure the others are really great, but I'm pretty sure that New York Roadrunners is the domain in New York. So this is a major one. I think twice a year they shut down Times Square. I'm not confirmed what the other time is, but I do know that they shut down Times Square for this, and it's a rare occurrence. It's really cool to run through Times Square and have that pinch me moment. Just be on the streets of Times Square and be happy that you're in Times Square and not surrounded by tourists hating every minute of being in Times Square. Another little thing underrated that I really didn't talk about actually, beautiful views from the Manhattan Bridge. Once you're leaving Brooklyn and you're crossing over the Manhattan Bridge, such pretty views of the city. I think that it might be open regularly for people to run. My friend Grace runs these paths all the time, so she knows exactly what she's talking about. I did not. I just ran around Jersey City, so I didn't know whether it's open access all the time. But regardless, you get to run on it during the race, and that's a really cool thing. It's such a pretty view. Look at the water beneath you. Look at the skyline of Manhattan. You can see the skyline. I think you can see a little bit further back, like Long Island City, Williamsburg. Like you can see all those little buildings in the Brooklyn, Queens side. There are definitely some really pretty views from that as well. And then coming in through downtown. It's also cool because it's just quiet. It's always nice to enjoy New York City when it's shut down and there's like, it's just you. You're like, you kind of have like a special little moment. This is my city and I'm here and I'm running it. Like this is my city. Overall, it's just a really great course. Obviously nothing compares to the New York Marathon course where you get to go through all 5 boroughs. That's really cool. But this is a really, really cool course where you start out in Brooklyn. You start out in one park and you make it to the other park, okay? Prospect Park is beautiful. I also regret not spending a lot of time in Prospect Park when I live near New York City. Yes, it's a little hilly, but what are gains without the pain that it takes to get them? On that note, I'm gonna wrap this up. If you're running the United Airlines Half Marathon this year, good luck to you. I'm so jealous. I did not want to run for a charity again. I'll have to make a separate video about the process of running through a charity. I'm not discouraging it by any means, but it is hard work and maybe one day I'll be able to take that on again, but it is not something that I could take on right now. It is a lot to get yourself into. Maybe I'll get in the lottery next year or am in a place to run for a charity again, which I guess I feel like I should have touched on Caring Kind, the Alzheimer's charity that I ran for. It is a really special charity, but I guess I'll have to make another video about that. We'll make it a like charity running, like what it's like to run for a charity video. Congratulations in advance. Good luck. Let me know below if you're running it this year, what you're excited about, what you're nervous about. Let me know if you're running it this year or if you want to run it in future years and this video has convinced you to do so. Let me know. Thanks for watching.